The Parson Capen House. The Parson Capen House is named after Joseph Capen, who on June 11, 1684, was ordained as the Parson of Topsfield. Parson Capen got his job because the prior parson was an alcoholic and was caught drunk in the pulpit. The house was built in the summer of 1683 for Parson Capen and his wife Priscilla Appleton. Originally, the house was located on the corner of Parsonage Lane, but Priscilla, who came from a wealthy family, refused to live there. Priscilla's family owned Appleton Farm, which is now the country's oldest continuously operating farm. The parson had a variety of roles in the town and contributed in multiple ways. The parson had the power to decide if certain Englishmen could vote and make it so others could not. Parson Capen also had a small role in the witch trials. One of his parishioners, Mary Easty, was accused of being a witch. She was condemned to death. Years later, Capen requested that her name be cleared. The house represents one of the finest pieces of Elizabethan architecture in the United States. When erected, the house was considered to be a mansion. Typical homes of this era were small with thatched roofs. Brackets on the outside overhangs of the house, which are not needed for the structure, show the wealth of the owner. The floors are made out of wood planks that are over a foot wide. You can compare the width of the floor to my shoe. The roof was made of cedar shingles but was replaced after rotting took over. An enormous chimney sits in the center of the roof's ridge, allowing smoke to leave the house from all of the house's fireplaces. One of the main rooms, the kitchen, contains many pieces of history that have been preserved for years. One of the most obvious is the enormous fireplace. The fireplace was the only source of heating in the entire house and allowed the family to cook meals. On one side of the fireplace is a beehive oven. Hot embers would be placed inside of the oven and heat the bricks. The embers would then be taken out and bread dough would have been placed inside for cooking. The fireplace was one of the most dangerous parts of the house. Women wore long skirts that lit if touched by an ember. By the side of the fire is a large bench with a very tall backside. The family would place the bench in front of the fire and the back wall would trap in the heat. The opposite wall is a bed frame. The frame is unique because the outside is made of woods, while the frame in the middle holding the mattress is intertwined rope. The expression "sleep tight" originates from this type of bed. The ropes would be tightened every night with a special tool. People would say "sleep tight," meaning that hopefully the ropes would not become loose in the night. The tool in this picture was used to tighten the ropes on the bed frames. It was very challenging to keep food cool, especially in the summer. Part of the floor underneath a window lifts up, leading to a small crawlspace-like basement. Food was stored beneath the house in this space to keep it cool. While the house and the air outside became hot, the basement remained cool. Thick beams, called summer beams, are a very dominant wood feature. The beams have rounded edges for two reasons. The first, being the more obvious, is that if someone whacked their head, it would not be into a sharp corner. The second reason is to prevent the beams from catching fire. Although it may seem unlikely, embers shooting out of the fireplace were less likely to ignite a rounded edge than a squared off one. Many other items in the kitchen add to the history. This object was used to form candles. Wax was heated in these small pots over the fireplace and then poured into the candle-making frame. This item was used to hold candles. The height was easily adjusted and could hold 2 candles, one on each side. This common household tool is known as a butter churner and was used to make butter. A small stool sits off in the corner of the kitchen. The stool was used to sit on when you were milking the cow. A large cabinet holds all the dishes and cups that were originally in the house. In the second room of the first floor, there is a smaller fireplace. There is also a bed where guests slept. On top of the bed is the tool that was used to tighten the bed frame. On the second floor, Parson Capen's desk sits in a corner with the original feather pens. In the opposite corner, there is an original musket from the time. Stored in a glass case are lots of little items that have been found in the house over the years. Outside, there is a large garden where Priscilla grew herbs. It is now tended by the people of the town. Priscilla and Capen had 7 children who all lived in the home with them, none of whom had children. On June 30th, 1725, Parson Capen passed away. The house passed through a variety of owners until it was finally bought by the Topsfield Historical Society, who owns it today. The house was restored by George Francis Dow and the Topsfield Historical Society in 1913. Today, almost all of the land has been sold off and only 1 acre is left. The house is a treasure, not only to the town of Topsfield, but to the entire country, and we owe our thanks to the foresight of Mr. Dow and the Topsfield Historical Society.